Hi guys, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel, The Crafty Quinn. On this channel, we like to do Dollar Tree DIYs, DIY decor, and more. So if that's something you're into, I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. So we're doing things a little bit different this time around because I am kind of going into like a new area of decor here. I don't really do thrift flips that often, but I'm thinking I might start to do more on my channel. So sitting behind me right here, I have this humongous old window behind me, and this is going to become a centerpiece of my house. I'm very, very excited to show you guys how this turns out. I've been up since 7 a.m. this morning trying to figure out how to DIY this thing. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of prep that needs to be done. So that's what I've been working on, and I just can't wait to show you guys the end result. So with that being said, let's get crafting. So first we have this window that I got from Hobby Lobby. I actually got it 50% off, so technically this is the only thing that's not a real thrift item, but I mean I got a really good deal and I've been eyeing up this window for a while, so I paid about $15 for it, and I figured, you know what, that's a great price for the craftsmanship of this window, and I just thought it was so cute. It kind of reminds me of like a Mediterranean style window, and I think that this is technically what would fall under that decor style. So I didn't like the wood stain. The wood stain didn't match with the other wood stain that we have in our house. We have a lot of like dark wood stain, and this is more of a lighter shade, more of a, I don't know, it's just not matching. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna paint the whole thing white and then just distress things a little bit. So that's what you see me doing here. I literally got paint in every single crease, every single little corner. So that was a very, very time consuming process. So I've sped everything up for you, so you don't have to watch me paint for a very long time. So I'm using white Waverly chalk paint on this actually, and that is my go-to. So I thought a foam brush would probably be the best kind of brush for this, so I can get a lot on my brush, and I definitely needed a lot of paint, so that worked out well. And one reason you might see me use foam brushes a lot is because of the amount of paint that they hold. So I'm taking my finger sander here and I'm just roughing up each little edge. Everything's dried and whatnot, so I'm trying to now take off some of that paint and just kind of catch the edges, and that's just something I like to do, and that for me really gives it the really nice effect. So I didn't bother painting the back of it. Maybe I will eventually, but this is just on display in my home. I'm not going to sell this piece. I love it too much. So I am just trying to sand down some of the paint and get the wood grain to come through, and it's definitely, you can see it right there, it's starting to come through. So you just make sure you really press down, and I realized I maybe used a little bit too much paint on this if I wanted it to show through easily, but that's fine. So I just keep sanding until I like the way that it's showing through. And then this is what it looks like just on its own, and you can see some of the edges coming out. And this is where I'm displaying it in my home. And then I added this cute little wreath I got from Michael's, and I just wired it to the window. So I thought it was really cute. So today's video is a collab with Farm Charm Chic. So she has a video for you as well. She did some thrift flips, and she is someone I wanted to collab with for a while. I love her farmhouse style. She literally made her own full-size Mediterranean style window, cut like from scratch. So she is very, very talented. So please go check her out. Go check out her video and her channel and show her some love, and be sure to tell her that I sent you. And I'm very, very excited to see what she's come up with for today. So this is the infamous window project that I've been talking about since last night on my channel. I went live and I talked to you guys all about the hassle this window was giving me. So this is a vintage window. I got this from my father-in-law, and so he's had it for a while on his property, and I don't know how old this window is exactly, but he got this at auction, and I told them I was looking for an old window because I thought that would be the perfect focal point and centerpiece of our home. So I've been wanting to redo a window of some sort, and he had this one, so that worked out really, really nice. But like I said, I don't know how old this is. It's been sitting around for a while, so it was kind of falling apart a little bit. Obviously the handle there you see is rusted, so the paint was just chipping off of it pretty easily. So I just took a finger sander and I sanded off most of the paint on this, and the actual wood itself didn't need a lot of sanding because it was pretty kind of, I don't know, because it was so old, it was pretty smooth already. So most of the paint had just kind of chipped off on its own. So I just continued to sand off some of the rust on the handle, and you can see there, this is after I've gotten done sanding, and literally bits of the window are chipping off. So I'm cleaning up this area because this area was just, it was a lot of dirt was trapped in this window, and you're about to see that. It's pretty nasty. But it's a lot of cleaning and prep work that I mentioned right at the beginning of this video. Like, this is some of the prep work that I was talking about. Sanding and cleaning and oh my goodness. So there's a lot that needs to happen. Like, look how much dirt came off of this thing. That wasn't all of it. I had to do that quite a few times. I'm only showing you a bit of the cleaning because there was quite a bit. And of course, another piece that came with this window is like when I was cleaning, or I think it might have been when I was doing the razor, I actually got a splinter in my thumb. I also mentioned that in my live stream last night. I got a pretty bad splinter in my thumb, and it went like deep into my skin. So that was right when I was taking this razor, and the razor was the only thing that was going to get off this paint. I mean, it's a really pretty drawing, and this is making me want to do fall DIYs the more I look at this, but it was coming apart anyway, so I'm like, this is not going to be a Halloween piece. This is not going to, go with what I want to do for this window. So when I was taking a razor and I was going against the edge of the middle part of the window there, I got this pretty big splinter underneath my thumb, in my thumb, and that was pretty gnarly, and then finally it came out yesterday, so I'm glad, but that was... yeah, that was interesting. And the worst part was tweezers were not even working to get this thing out. So I just had to wait for it to come out on its own. Pretty gross. But anyway, so I just keep razoring this thing, and eventually it just got to the point where I had to get my husband to help scrape the rest of it because it was taking me forever with my dainty little arms there. Like, I have no upper body strength, my friends, like none. So eventually when I got most of it, I gave up and I let my husband, Quinn, do the rest. He literally got it done in like 2 seconds. So I'm like, oh, he should have just done it from the start. But hey, I wanted this DIY to be all my own. So I didn't want a lot of help on this, but yeah. So next I'm just using some masking tape. We didn't have any painter's tape left, so I just used some masking tape to put all around the edges of this window because I am about to start painting. Finally, the window here is free and clear. I cleaned it a lot. There's no more pumpkin painting. It's pretty great looking now. So things are starting to shape up, and you can see there's still a lot of paint on this, kind of at the top there. But I mean, I mostly just wanted things to be flat. So it's fine if the paint was still in there because the window's so old that the paint was just in the wood at that point, so it is what it is. I just needed the surface to be completely smooth so there would be no bumps when I'm painting. So I'm using some white Waverly chalk paint on this, and no, I did not go through 2 bottles of chalk paint. I just was trying to use what was left of 1 bottle. So this I just took a regular paintbrush for. And I did not cover this thing completely in white paint because I wanted this to still have the old vintage feel. And you're about to see where I get attacked by a spider, but I'm going to let that play out on its own. So just trigger warning, if you're afraid of bugs, this next part's going to freak you out a little bit. I'm trying to hold back my laughter. Oh my gosh, you guys. Yeah, so I never saw that spider again, so I'm pretty sure it's still in the window. So I'm like, you know what? If that's the spider's home, then go for it. So I only lightly painted over that hole because I didn't want to go near it again. So that was this window really gave me some trouble, as you can see. So I did, like you can see here, I only did some very, very light painting. And yeah, just going across the edges on all sides. but I still wanted this to have that vintage feel. And I thought it would, I didn't want it to look too perfect if I painted over everything just so. So yeah, that wouldn't be the farmhouse effect that I'm going for here. So I lifted up the masking tape before the paint was completely dry. I started using my heat brush and then I was like, wait, I gotta pull up the masking tape because I don't want to chip the paint at the same time. So it did peel up a little bit, but that was actually just a part that was covered by the masking tape that I missed. So I went back and I fixed that little corner there with a tiny brush. So next, oh my gosh, you guys, this part, oh my gosh. So I'm only showing you a little bit of it, but I bent so many staples. I couldn't for the life of me, I've never used a staple gun before. And so I grabbed the staple gun that my husband had and I used these ridiculous huge work gloves because I'm dealing with chicken wire here and it was like heavy duty stuff and it was really, really tough. So I was like, why isn't this staple gun working? And turns out there was no staples in it. Of course. So I had to look up a million YouTube tutorials and make sure there was like no such thing as like a staple gun safety. I was like, why isn't this thing working? Is there safety on it? Like, I don't know. Clearly know nothing about it, never used it before. And here, I'm not even using the right wire cutters. These are wire strippers. So I actually ended up ruining this tool. So you need an actual wire cutter because these wire strippers are not meant for cutting through steel. So I think I made this tool that I'm using very dull. So please go grab yourself a pair of wire cutters for this, actual wire cutters to cut through the steel of the chicken wire. But after all that chaos, this is how it turned out, and I am in love, you guys. It makes our house look bigger, our tiny little condo. It makes it look bigger. So this is the focal point of the room. I'm in love, and I plan to have this for years to come. So it was worth the splinter, the spider attack, like everything. So I have, you know, a million funny stories to tell about this window. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I still have one more DIY, but I just wanted to say that thank you guys so much for watching the video, and make sure to give this a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and the Crafty Kitty and I say thank you for watching. So this is last but not least. This is a thrifted item that I got from my local thrift store. This is an old clock. And I thought this would be a really interesting farmhouse piece, but basically this whole video is all big farmhouse pieces that I really wanted to put throughout our home because our home, you know, it definitely had kind of like the start of like a farmhouse style, but there was a lot that was missing. So there's a lot of pieces that I've wanted for my home for a while, but you know, when I see them out at like home decor stores, they're always so much money. You know, that window that I just made probably would have been like maybe $150, maybe. So you know, if I get to make it myself, then I get to put my own spin on it, and that's what I liked about these projects. So these 3 projects definitely tied our farmhouse home style together. Absolutely. And I just need maybe a couple more things before I feel like, you know, everything's finished. And I'll show you guys what I mean a little bit, but I think maybe I could use some more pieces next to this clock. So I'm using some white Waverly chalk paint and just a regular paintbrush. And I don't know where I got this paintbrush from, but it was not doing so good. And all the bristles kept coming off of it. So that's what you see me doing there. Like I lost a million bristles from this brush, but it's fine. So I just gave this a few coats of chalk paint, and originally I wanted maybe the numbers to stick out a little bit so I could have kind of a place, like a starting place for where to put these wood numbers when I apply them to the clock. But eventually I realized that like the numbers were not really going to show through, and I just kind of have to make it my own setting, a placement setting of where I want all of those numbers to go. So I got these wooden numbers from Hobby Lobby. They came in a multi-pack of like, I mean, it gives you a couple of each, not a couple, but it gives you like quite a few of each number. So I had like just enough ones to make like all of the, you know, double digits. And then now I'm just taking some Waverly ink chalk paint, and I had to paint every single little number here. So what I would do is I would paint a portion of the number, I would heat gun it, and then so it was dry, so then I could paint the rest of it without getting a lot on my fingers that way. But you know, it still happens regardless. No matter how much you try, you're gonna get covered in paint. So now I'm just taking this ruler and I'm taking a Sharpie marker, and I'm doing this because I want the back of this clock to give you a shiplap look. So that's kind of the trick that I like to do. I like to just take a marker and that becomes my shiplap. And that's actually how I made a shiplap background for a lot of my DIYs. I took this Sharpie marker and I took a white poster and I just drew some lines and covered it up with a little bit of paint, and it looks like old shiplap. So this is a larger ruler, well, it's a level that I'm using for the rest of the lines. I needed something much bigger than the ruler I had. So this is what helped me draw straight, even lines. And I have to say, this was probably one of the best things I could have used. But also, you know, it helped me figure out whether or not I was going to be all weird with the spacing. So that's what's so great about using a level. So when you're drawing on paint, you definitely kind of have to go back a couple times with the marker and make sure it's dark enough. But I know that like they're about to be faded anyway, but I want it to be faded by paint and not like weird lines by the marker. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just dry brushing over these lines. There was only a very tiny amount of paint left on this brush, and that's what makes it so perfect for dry brushing. I'm just like pressing down with all my might because there's barely any paint on this brush. Definitely is messy, but that's what gives it the effect that I want. So after all of the numbers are painted, I placed them where I wanted, and honestly, I just had to eyeball it. Like, I wish there was an easier technique, and I'm sure there is, but I mean, the lines definitely helped. Like, I had something to go off of, spacing-wise at least. So, I mean, maybe that's the trick. Maybe it's the lines. But I just looked up a picture of a clock, and I was like, okay, how do they have these spaced out? Is this gonna look okay? And it worked out pretty good. So the mechanism in this, when I bought it, was actually broken, or it broke. But anyway, I had to go buy a new one. So Michael's has some clock packs if you want to get a new, you know, piece from scratch and make your own hands and whatnot. And like it's easier than you think. It's not like actually something you have to build by scratch totally. It's just, you know, you might need a little bit of help if you're making something like this, holding it up. Like you just saw my husband's hand there. I needed just a little bit of help. But basically, I mean, you're just screwing all of the pieces back into it, and each little pack has instructions that will show you how to do it. But it just comes with a set of like nuts and screws, and then you just apply them. So I just had to make sure I was like pressing down and then making sure to screw the piece in tightly so the hands don't fall off. And then the hands did get a little bit like kind of on top of each other, so I just kind of had to bend the top one. And then this is how it turned out when it was all done. I think this is so cute, you guys. And what's so great is that, you know, I made this from a clock already, so a lot of the work is mostly done. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to watch more videos, check them out here on the left, and let's keep in touch on Instagram. Thank you, and tune in next week for my next video. Bye!